How long does a Tesla battery last? How many miles or years will a Tesla battery last? It's tough to give a firm, evidence-based answer to that question. Although the first EVs came out way back in the 1800s, modern EVs haven't been on the road long enough or in high enough volumes to prove themselves in the real world yet. The very first batch of Tesla's first mass-produced EV, the Model S, only recently turned 10 years old. Further muddying the data is the fact that EV battery longevity is a moving target. In these past 10 years, there have been numerous tweaks to battery cell chemistry, cell structure design, and battery management systems. The packs from 10 years ago are very different from the packs in Tesla vehicles today. Despite these obstacles, we're committed to giving you a rough idea of how many years and how many miles you might expect from a Tesla battery pack. Since we can't nail down a short answer, here's the long one. How and why does a Tesla battery fail? Before we get to the numbers, it's important to understand that very few EV batteries suddenly stop working. Instead, they degrade slowly over time, gradually storing less and less energy, which reduces an EV's driving range. This degradation isn't linear. The battery takes a quick hit early in its life, where it might lose around 5% of its energy capacity. After that, it transitions to a sustained period of slower degradation. Why does this happen? When driving an EV, positively charged lithium ions in the battery travel from a component known as an anode through the electrolyte into the cathode. They return to the anode under charging. The simplest explanation of battery degradation is that some ions become stuck on the cathode or the anode as the battery charges and discharges. Fewer freely moving ions moving means less energy for propelling the car. On top of that, as the electrolyte ages over time, it becomes less effective at letting ions travel through it. This degradation, sometimes called calendar aging, occurs simply as a matter of time and regardless of how often you charge or drive the vehicle. What Tesla's battery warranty says about degradation. Like any car company, Tesla designs its products and its warranties so that the company doesn't burn through cash replacing parts at its own expense. You might think of the battery warranty in a Tesla as a worst-case scenario. In the highly unlikely situation that the battery dies the same day the warranty expires, what's the earliest you might be on the hook for an expensive battery replacement? Before 2020, Tesla provided an 8-year, unlimited mileage warranty on Model S and Model X batteries and drive units. That guarantee has since been revised to 8 years or 150,000 miles for those vehicles. Tesla's less expensive models have shorter mileage limits. The Model 3 RWD is covered for 8 years or 100,000 miles, while performance, long-range AWD, and standard-range AWD versions of the Model 3 and Model Y are guaranteed for 8 years or 120,000 miles. The company specifies its batteries will retain at least 70% of their original capacity, also known as 30% degradation, during the warranty period. In other words, as long as a 303-mile Model Y performance is still storing enough energy to cover at least 212 EPA-rated miles on a full charge, it's performing as intended. What Tesla says about battery lifespan. According to Tesla's 2021 Impact Report, its batteries are designed to last the life of the vehicle, which the company estimates as roughly 200,000 miles in the US and 150,000 miles in Europe. Tesla's own data show Model S and X batteries retain about 90% of their original capacity on average over 200,000 miles of use. Tesla CEO Elon Musk also once tweeted that the battery pack in the Model 3 and Model Y was designed to last 1,500 charging cycles, which translates to about 300,000 miles for standard range models and about 500,000 miles for long-range versions. To date, most Teslas sold in the US have used a nickel-cobalt-aluminum (NCA) lithium-ion chemistry, but the company has recently started deploying lithium iron phosphate (LFP) batteries in lower-end Model 3 variants. These cells are not as energy-dense as NCA batteries, but they should be more resilient to degradation. Tesla has also started using its new, larger 4680 nickel-cobalt-manganese (NCM) cells in the Model Y standard range AWD coming out of its Texas Gigafactory. It will likely be more than a decade before we have a full understanding of how these new cells hold up in the real world. High-mileage Teslas in the real world. With over 1 million Tesla vehicles sold, there are several real-life examples of owners racking up huge mileage. Twitter user Gem8Minjan drives a 2013 Tesla Model S P85 that has reached over 1 million miles, with the original battery pack replaced at 180,000 miles. Tesla, a former shuttle service company in California, was one of the first to run a 2016 Model X90D past 300,000 miles back in 2018. That electric SUV mostly relied on DC fast charging, which can degrade batteries quicker, and yet the company reported just 12.6% battery degradation, with most of that occurring in the first 9 months of service. The Maiden Voyage blog has been sharing one owner's experience with a 2018 Tesla Model 3 long-range RWD that reached the 200,000 miles mark with 13.7% degradation. One Motor Trend reader, Corey, shared with us that his 2018 Model 3 long-range had crossed the 100,000-mile mark in late June 2022 with around 7% capacity loss. How to check a Tesla's battery degradation. If you're planning to buy a used Tesla, it's a smart idea to check the health of the battery. The simplest way to gauge a battery's degradation is to charge the vehicle to 100% and then compare the displayed range with the EPA-rated range. But there's a flaw with this method, because Tesla can tweak the displayed range as part of software updates. For example, back in 2019, Tesla increased the range of Model 3 long-range RWD from 310 miles to 325 miles because the company had improved the motor efficiency through a software update. If someone used the original 310 miles to determine battery degradation today, it would incorrectly skew the result. Another easy way to test battery degradation is to charge a Tesla from 10% to full and note the plus kilowatt-hour number reported on the upper left of the Model 3/Y's main screen or the Model S/X's instrument cluster, or from the Tesla app divide that number by 0.9 and then compare the result to the factory claimed usable battery capacity when new. This method is also imperfect, but it should give you a good estimate of battery degradation. In late 2022, Tesla released a battery health test in its service mode that any owner can do. To conduct the procedure, a car needs to be connected to a 240-volt level 2 charging station with the battery at 50% or less. The test can take up to 24 hours to complete, although starting from a lower state of charge, say 10% instead of 50%, speeds things up. To access service mode, go into the car's software page, hold down the model logo for a few seconds, type in service as the access code, and then tap enable. In the service mode menu, tap on battery, then high voltage, then health test. Next, as instructed on screen, hold up the turn signal stalk, step on the brake, and put your Tesla keycard in position on the center console until the screen says gateway state unlocked. The health test procedure can then begin. That car will make some unusual noises as it discharges the battery pack to 0% and then slowly charges it back up to 100%. Once the test is finished, a new battery health percentage will be shown in the HV battery column. Note that this number represents battery health, not battery capacity, and we don't know what factors Tesla considers in arriving at the final result. For example, we recently tried the battery health test using a Model 3 that retains 93% of its energy capacity, 69 kWh of its original 74 kWh, and received an 86% battery health score. We don't recommend doing the battery health test often. The discharge to 0 and charge to full procedure adds wear to the pack, and unless the result is below 70%, Tesla won't warranty the pack for degradation. As an owner, you might be interested in checking your car once every year using one of the above methods, but don't lose sleep over it. Some battery degradation is an inevitable and normal occurrence. How much does it cost to replace a Tesla battery? In the event your Tesla needs an out-of-warranty battery replacement, you can expect to pay between $10,000 and $20,000 depending on the model, local labor costs, and taxes. Tesla tends to use remanufactured battery packs to keep the replacement price lower than buying a new pack. It also makes sure the capacity of the pack is equal to or higher than the original pack so customers won't see any range loss. Some Tesla owners have shared invoices online showing that a remanufactured 85 kWh Model S pack costs about $12,000, and a 74 kWh Model 3 pack costs about $10,000.